Fuck wrong with you, boy? You know what time it is, nigga. Better watch how you step in. Yeah. But that was my niggas. Yeah. I'm in it, yo. Got my nigga Rewan with me. But that was my niggas, it'll be an honor. You know what I'm saying? Under commanding General, your honor. That for my niggas, it'll be an honor and a blessing. Look, hey, straight off the top, I love all of my niggas. That shit ain't gon' stop till we on top when we ballin', my nigga. We be fly as fuck, you know them bitches be stalking my niggas. That shit'll never change, and it's the same with all my niggas. City to city, I should be at home. That's what my ribs say. But bitch, I'm grown on many streets and closed caption. Niggas know we bout that action. If a nigga play with me, then my hakim gon' let him have it. Hey, think you the shit, this truth the shit. Nigga play, I let that Ruger hit. Get on them tracks, they be like, who is this? I'm rude with it. Ain't got no manners, all them pussy niggas talking shit. Y'all know they can't stand us, but we UPK, Louisiana, bitch, that's what I'm ripping. And my niggas solid number, real ones in my section. If you wanna get down, put your boots on, start stepping. Brotherhood is a weapon. Brotherhood is a weapon. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood is a weapon. If I die for my niggas, it'll be an honor and a blessing. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood is a weapon. Brotherhood is a weapon. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood is a weapon. If I die for my niggas, it'll be an honor and a blessing. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood. I lay my life down right now for all my sisters and brothers, because I love them. I see them dapping and hug them. It's amazing to see how well we adapt from the struggle. Born again from a life of sin, trapped in the gutter. My mind frame was to kill my own kind. Feeling inferior, waking up ready to die. Run with them killers, so it's just a matter of time. For I take your life or let you take mine. That's when I realized the slaves killing slaves while the white man live to get old. We in them graves, shit got me feeling played. I opened the Bible, went through them records, found out we was royalty, a nation to be respected. But in this world we rejected, we hated for our complex. Still fighting to get accepted. We hear the truth and reject it, but love is getting corrected. And all my niggas correct me. The commandments, the foundation we erected. Brotherhood is a weapon. Brotherhood is a weapon. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood is a weapon. If I die for my niggas, it'll be an honor and a blessing. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood is a weapon. Brotherhood is a weapon. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood is a weapon. If I die for my niggas, it'll be an honor and a blessing. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood is a weapon. Hey, hey. Hey, hey.
Salakia, clap it up. Shalom, Israel. This is the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge. Started on the 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under the Commanding General Yohana. Right? This is Isupk Austin Tuesday Brotherhood class. Brotherhood is a weapon, right? Sisterhood is a weapon. These are the weapons we're going to use to learn who we are supposed to be and what we are supposed to be doing. Okay? We don't know what we're supposed to be doing. We don't know what we're supposed to be following. So what do? We follow the customs of our oppressor. because we were raised and we was raised Christian, right? And Christians celebrate and serve everything but God, right? That's why they're going to be out there and they're going to celebrate that 4th of July. They're going to go out there, they're going to blow all the fireworks up until they blow their hand off, till they blow a thumb off, right? Till they burn their house down. They're not happy until something terrible happens from you celebrating the day that you shouldn't even partake in. You see, we always want to be with the in crowd, and we want to do what everybody else is doing, and everybody's going to be out there celebrating the independence of America. When you're not free in America, you don't get to move in America how you were supposed to move. You're not in America living under the laws of God, even though this is supposed to be a Christian nation, they say. Well, this Christian nation does not serve God. It serves itself. And then it has its slaves serve with them. And that's what's going on. And we're going to break all this down tonight. We're going to get some understanding, because the things that so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians have been through, and to still go out there and celebrate. Man, I pray I don't see none of our Hispanic brothers out there lighting a firecracker when they have been getting rounded up under Donald Trump's administration, while he's taking away your natural born citizenship. He's going to take it away. And he's hauling you out. And he's hauling our Jamaican brothers out, and our Haitian brothers, and everybody. He's getting them out of here. So I hope you don't go and celebrate this this holiday when you were just considered 3/5 of a man. When this was going on, when they were signing their Declaration of Independence, we were considered 3/5 of a man. We wasn't considered a complete man, right? And they did that for all kind of purposes. And just imagine if they unalive you. If they unalive you and you don't count as a man, then you count as what? You count as cattle. Count as some animal that they own, that they could do whatever they want with it. We need to have some dignity and not go and pop off those firecrackers and pledge allegiance and pledge our allegiance to America. Got to stop aligning ourselves with the nonsense that our oppressors bring forth. These silly so-called holidays. These ain't the real holidays. The real holidays are in the Bible. The real days you should celebrate. Bear with me 1 second. Bear with me 1 quick second. Let me get this real quick. Show you something real quick. We're going to go to Ecclesiasticus 33:9. Let me get there, then I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to read it. All right, let me share my screen. There we go. All right. This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 33, verse 9. Some of them hath he made high days and hallowed them, and some had he made ordinary days. Okay. What's coming up on Friday to the Most High, this is an ordinary day. This isn't no hallowed day that he ordained, that he told you to go and observe and to carry out and remember through all your generations. This is something that your oppressor is telling you to go out and carry through all your generations. The unaliving of your people, that you being packed in a boat like a sardine and brought over here to be a slave, right? He wants you to celebrate his independence lined up with your slavery, and you should be happy and celebrate his victory. That's what he has you doing. While you were taking a loss and he was taking a victory, he wants you to celebrate his victory. And that's why you shouldn't be out there and be participating in any of this nonsense. Because some days he had made high days. Them high days are in the Bible. Them high days are the days that we are supposed to observe. Those are the days that he made that you should reverence because he hallowed them. He made them holy, right? And some he made ordinary days. And your oppressor's victories for you should be not a day that is hallowed, not a day that is holy, not a day that is celebrated. You see, everything that they celebrate is to the detriment and destruction of us. And since it's to the destruction of us, you know, we shouldn't have anything to do with it. But instead, we've been so confused, so made to be a part of them, to want to feel like you have to fit in, that we have made these days important to us. And everybody's going to go buy all of the pork ribs. You're not going to be able to find a pork rib in America because you're going to barbecue, eat food that the Lord doesn't like on a day that the Lord doesn't like. And you're celebrating the victories of America while you're 3/5 of a man. And we're going to get that real quick. All right. Here. Yep. All right. All right. This is not the 3/5 of a person. What is the 3/5 clause meant at ratification? Denials of black humanity, free and enslaved, coexist with explicit acknowledgement that enslaved black people, though legally deemed property, were people. All right. Let the case of the slaves be considered, and in this truth a peculiar one. Let the compromising expedients of the Constitution be mutually adopted, which regarded them as inhabitants, but as debased by servitude below of the equal of free inhabitants. You see, we were debased. We were made lower. We were made lower because we were slaves, and they were free men, right? It says, which regarded slaves divested of 2/5 of man. So wrote James Madison, Federalist in 54. He said they're 2/5 of a man, not 3, right? Madison was talking about the 3/5 clause of the United States Constitution, appearing in Article 1, Section 2. The clause read, representatives and directors' taxes shall be apportioned among several states which may have included with this union according to their respective numbers, which shall be determined by adding the whole number of a free persons, including those bound to serve for terms of years, and excluding Indians not taxed, 3/5 of all persons. Good night. Get out there. All right. At its most basic, 3/5 clause stipulated that 3/5 of an enslaved population of the state would be counted alongside 5/5 of the free population for determining how many members of the House of Representatives in each state received. 3/5 of enslaved population would also be subject to direct taxes should Congress impose any. But because of the number of electoral votes, would be determined by adding the number of senators at the state received always to The number of the House members of the state entitled to a higher enslaved population would give the state a greater influence over both of the House, where the tax bills had to originate, over the choice of president. All right, so they're saying, all right, we're making them 3/5 of a man because if they're considered a full man, then and you have slaves, then these votes you're gonna get more votes, right? Okay. Madison's phrase divested, and then they're saying this of these votes, but we wasn't voting. So what the hell did it matter? We wasn't allowed to vote. So what the hell did it matter? Why would y'all have to make us 3/5 of a man? Because y'all still counting us, but you're making the vote for us, just like they do today. Today they let you go out and vote, and the popular vote doesn't matter because there's people who win the popular vote and still don't win the election because they're going to choose. They're going to make the choice of who it is. All right. Madison's phrase divested of 2/5 of the man and akin to most common ways that scholars, teachers, and anyone else talking about 3/5 clause today describes what it did, that it counted each slave as 3/5 of a person. This phrase suggests a shared presumption among whites that black people were only fractionally human. So they're saying we're not full human, right? But what do we do? Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, we embody humanity. We are the true humans, the meek of the earth, right? It says there is certainly no shortages of examples of whites arguing precisely this, especially in the antebellum era. At first glance, that appears to be what the 3/5 clause is doing. The fraction 3/5 is in the text itself. Dang. And also the word slave is and though the word slave is never used, the clause clearly is talking about enslaved black people that there are understandable reasons why it is so easy to assume that defenders of slavery on some level had to believe that black people, free or enslaved, were innately not fully human. So they believe that we aren't fully human. And they still treat us like that today. That's why all these things that go on today, all our plights, all the disgusting, sickening things that happen to us, it still happens because these people have a perpetual hatred for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. And they still consider you less than them. They don't consider you equal with them. They don't consider you a full man like them. That's why they'll call you boy. That's why they'll try to lower you, right? All right, let's continue. Yet this phrasing is at best misleading. So far as I could tell, commentators on the 3/5 clause in 1787 and 1788, its defenders as well as its critics did not use the phrase. Madison's line appears to have come closest and even did not mean that black people were only 60% human. In fact, his argument, like that of other defenders of the 3/5 clause, rested on the assertion that enslaved black people were three things simultaneously. So they're trying to say, oh, they're not saying that they were less. They're saying that they are three things simultaneously. All right. Subordinates to whites, legally the property of their owners, and human beings. Well, we didn't get treated like human beings. So how does it say and human beings? And we didn't get treated in a humane way. But we did get treated like subordinates to whites. We did get treated like legal property of our owners, but we didn't get treated like human beings. All right, through and through, Southerners like Madison have vested interest acknowledging that enslaved people were people. Since states with large enslaved populations, Madison's home of the state of Virginia, most of all, would gain greater representation in the House of the Electoral College through the inclusions of 3/5 of the enslaved population. Denials of black humanity, free and enslaved, coexisted with explicit acknowledgement that enslaved black people, though legally deemed property, were people. Either could be invoked at different moments by the Constitution's defenders, who call themselves Federalists, as well as its critics, whom Federalists pejoratively labeled anti-Federalists, to drive home specific arguments that they sought to make. But arguments that enslaved people were people, those claiming they were property, did not divide cleanly along the political or sectional lines. When we presume the argument in the defense of slavery and the denials of full black personhood had to go hand in hand, we can easily miss or minimize how important it was for those defending constitutional protections for slavery to acknowledge, uh, and at times even emphasize, the personhood of the enslaved. Closer attention to the debate over the Three-Fifths Clause during the public ratification debate reveals on how central the personhood of the enslaved was to the Constitution's protections for slavery, how explicit slavery defenders were that the South states stood to gain by it. Yeah, they gained off of their slavery, off of their free labor, right? To be sure, whites, North and South, called the people the enslaved properly constantly. They often use words like black and Negro as synonymous for slave. Let that sink in. To be sure, whites, North and South, didn't they say you should be, run to the North where it's safe? Well, North and South people, right? So the people they enslaved, they were called property constantly, right? They often use words like black and Negro as synonymous for slave. So that black or that Negro, to them, it just means slave, right? Reflecting tendencies to equate blackness with bondage. They frequently compared black people to animals, especially beasts of burden. They when they're talking about beasts of burden, they're not talking about the animals that help the earth and do all this. They're talking about the ones that come and destroy their property, come and tear up their gardens, come and hunt their animals. That's what they're talking about. All right, slavery itself was brutal by its very nature, dehumanizing. Whites could and did claim that black people, free and enslaved, were intimately inferior. They could and did question whether black people were capable of comprehending political ideas like liberty and equality, even when petitions or the prospect of violent revolts by enslaved clearly provided otherwise. Most 18th century whites denied that black people deserved to enjoy the same political rights as white American citizens. Yet none of these arguments should be taken as evidence that white people apparently refused to acknowledge, let alone were somehow incapable of knowing, that black people, free and enslaved, were people. Critics of the Three-Fifths Clause, especially Northern anti-federalists, stressed that the personhood of the enslaved to underscore how brutal slavery and the transatlantic slave trade was. A New York anti-federalist writing under the pseudonym Brutus did precisely this in the fall of 1787. What adds to the evil is that the states are not permitted to continue with inhumane trafficking of imported slaves until the year 1808. The pseudonymous Brutus uh, explained in his third letter, linking the Three-Fifths Clause of Article 1, Section 9 to the Constitution, which forbade Congress from prohibiting the slave trade prior of that year. And every cargo of these unhappy people, which unfeeling, unprincipled, barbarous, are uh, of very avaricious or something, I don't know, wretches, may tear from their country, friends, and tender connections, and those in the state, bring into those states that are to be rewarded for having an increased members in the General Assembly. This is where we were when they were signing that Constitution. And we're 3/5 of men. This is how we was in here. Look at us packed like sardines. You're using the bathroom right there. You're on your menstrual cycle right there. Everything is happening right in here. And this is how they transported our people over here. And you're going to go and pop a firecracker for 4th of July. And you're going to justify it with your Christianity because God loves everybody. So this is you right here. And all these people that's on top of the boat, just like God loves you, he loves them in your mind. So you love them. When you go out and pop your firecrackers and all the M80s and all the bottle rockets and all the whatever hell else there is, and eat all the barbecue. Well, while you popping that firecracker on Friday, while you're eating that barbecue, put this in your chest one time. Put this in your memory bank one time. These are the things we should never forget. You never forget Pearl Harbor. You never forget Pearl Harbor. You never forget the Twin Towers. You never forget that. This is what you choose to forget. Choose to forget how you was packed in the bottom of a boat like a sardine. See how much more is on here. A lot. No sweat. We're going to keep going. Frightening as frightening as that was, the prospect of increased, perhaps insurmountable Southern power was not the only concern of many Northern's minds. Another was including 3/5 of a slave population in each state implied about the relative equality of blacks and white people. Abraham Fuller, a delegate of Massachusetts, ratifying convention, thought the rule of proportions, 5 slaves or 3 freemen. What hold on. The rule of portion, 5 slaves to 3 freemen was but equal for slaves that are cattle, right? But his colleague Francis Shirtliff, spelled shirtless in Theophilus Parsons' notes, wanted to know whether 5 smart Negro slaves are to be equal to 3 of our children. He's saying so. Our smartest is the 3 smartest Negroes, or there's 5 of the smartest Negroes, do they equal 3 of our children, 3 of their babies? This bastard. Look at him. Are we smarter than his kids? I believe so. All right. This was one of the most typical ways characterized the 3/5 clause, not as a fraction, 3/5 of a person, but as a ratio. 5 slaves treated equal to 3 freemen. The point they want to stress in the comparative representation of enslaved and free people, and often to compare the relative value of the enslaved and free labor. Not to claim that the Constitution rendered each enslaved person 40% less human than their free counterpart. Not in all enslaved people would count towards the appropriate. That could certainly be interpreted as a reflection of inferiority. In enslaved labor, the enslaved laborers of black people more generally, and are in any given white person could hold one or more of these views at the same time, but none meant that enslaved black people were not people. I mean, they keep trying to stress that. They keep trying to trick your mind and say that none of this means that you were not people, that you were not treated as people, right? Says the very fact provoked the cringeworthy comparison between smart, productive Negro slaves and white children at Massachusetts ratifying convention. It was also on the mind of North Carolina anti-federalist William Gowdy, who combined this worry with concern about direct taxes in one blunt statement. I wish not to be represented with Negroes. You see that? You supposed to be. They said that doesn't mean you're not a person. Well, he's saying, I wish not to be represented with Negroes. Gowdy stated flatly, especially if it increases my burdens. To sympathize with the hypocrisy of Southerners insist that slaves were property, and to challenge the political advantages Southern states stood to gain courtesy of the Three-Fifths Clause. Northerns frequently compared black people to the beast of burden. For all his sympathy for human victims of the transatlantic slave trade, Brutus made this very comparison in the very same letter. So is he saying, yeah, sorry about the slave trade and all this sympathy for the victims? He just said, you black people are a beast of burden. Okay? The letter which he referred to enslaved Africans as unhappy people. If this be just grounds for representation, the horses in some state and the oxen of others ought to be represented, Brutus wrote. For a great share of property of some of them consist in these animals. Good night. And they have so much control over as they have so much control over their own action. And these poor, unhappy creatures who are intended to be described in the above recites clause by words, all other persons. Dehumanizing comparisons like these reflect Northern whites' fears of both increased Southern political power on the one hand, even remotely possible of black citizenship on the other. So don't think the North was don't think it was about you. It wasn't about you being free and you having the quality of life. They don't give a damn about that, right? On the other, personhood of the enslaved lay at the heart both fears. Such comments that claim because Southerners called enslaved people property is much sense to count as animals owned by Northern whites appropriate meant as it did count enslaved people by Southern enslavers. All right, let me see what else I want to get out of here. We'll get some of these pictures. Look at these devils. Look at some of these words we're called. An American called them dangerous species of population. This is how your oppressor feels about you. And you go and you celebrate his victories. Good night. All right, we're going to get some scriptures. And if I got time for the other article, I'll pull it. Let me share my screen. We're going to get right into it. Get right into the Bible. Okay. We over here celebrating our oppressors' victories. Well, we would be called the beast of burden. And they comparing us to the beast of the field. The Bible calls them the beast of the field. You're not the beast of the field. You are the princes and princesses of God. Okay? Don't ever let them try to tell you that you nothing when they are the dogs of the earth, when they are the beast of the field. Look at Amos 5:21. All right, this is Amos chapter 5, verse 21. I despise your feast days. I will not smell your solemn assembly. See, Most High's letting you know, them days that he didn't hallow, that he didn't make holy, that he didn't make special, if it's not that day, then he hates it. He hates the 4th of July. He hates that his people are out here celebrating the victory of our enemies. That's how broken and distraught and downtrodden and trampled we are, that we will serve our enemies, that we will celebrate their victories, that we will pledge allegiance to them. But the Lord says he hates, he despises your feast days and will not smell your solemn assembly while you over there barbecuing all the pork up. And y'all going to have a big old Christian family prayer over it. All right. Verse 22. Though ye offer me burnt offerings and your meat offerings, I will not accept them. I will not regard the peace offering of the fat of your beasts. That's why you're always getting into it. You go in your family getting together. Everybody can't stand each other. You're going to these holidays and somebody getting in the fight. Somebody going to be arguing over the table. Somebody going to be saying something that they shouldn't have said. Bringing out that secret that was entrusted. Somebody came to you in confidence with something that they needed help getting through. And they told you. And you comforted them. And you got them through. And when y'all fight on these holidays, you're going to bring it out in front of the whole family tonight. You're going to air out their dirty laundry. And then they're going to air out yours. And you're going to cause contention. When you shouldn't even have been coming together on that day. Because the Lord ain't taking your peace offerings. All right, verse 23. Take away from me the noise of thy songs, for I will not hear the melody of thy vows. You're going to be out there singing all these songs. Out there singing all these songs, celebrating the victory of America. Wearing a God Bless America shirt. Wearing a freedom shirt. Wearing freedom and barbecue and whatever the hell else I see all through the stores. You're going to have that out barbecuing, shooting off firecrackers, guns, whatever the hell else. Well, we're telling you, don't do that. Don't go out and celebrate the victory of your oppressor. Don't be out there singing these songs. The Lord ain't going to be hearing thy melodies. He's going to say, take that noise away from me. Take the noise of that song out of there. All right, verse 24. But let the judgments run down as water and righteousness as a mighty stream. That's what you need to do. You need to go out there and you need to let these people know this ain't no day for the Lord. This ain't nothing that you should be representing and pledging allegiance to. You're supposed to come up out of America, come up out of her ways, come up out of her holidays, come up out of her 4th of July's, her Christianity, come up out of all her philosophy. You're supposed to be coming up out of this wicked nation. We'll get Revelations 18. We're going to go 18 and 3. All right. This is Revelation chapter 18, verse 3. For all the nations have drunk of the wine and wrath of her fornication, and all the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth has waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Bear with me 1 second. All right, let me get that again. For all the nations, this is Revelations 18 and 3. For all the nations have drunk of the wine of her wrath, of her fornication. For all the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth has waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. You see, all these other nations, they partake with America. They eat off of America. They prosper off of America, off of the delicacies, off of everything that's going on, right? Off of the children of the Most High. Verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, that ye receive not of her plagues. Okay? The Lord's telling us we have to come up out of her, right? My people, that's possessive. The Lord wants his people to come up out of the ways of America, to come out of the ways of our oppressors. So we do not be partakers of her sins. So we're not doing what she do. We're not celebrating her holidays. We're not living like they live, right? That we receive none of her plagues. Because if you're not doing what they're doing, then you don't have to suffer the punishments that they're going to suffer. The plagues they go through, you won't have to go through because you won't be sitting amongst them. You won't be congregating with them. You won't be with them to suffer what's going to happen. All right, verse 5. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God remember her iniquities. God remembers everything America does. God remembers everything that everybody has done to the children of Israel, to his children, to his holy separate people. And since he knows that, them sins have reached up to heaven. And God remembers all of it. Remembers you being 3/5 of a man, remembers the transatlantic slave trade, remembers Jim Crow, remembers Trayvon Martin, remembers George Floyd, right? Remembers your grandma. You better understand that while you out here celebrating and committing fornication with the enemy, right? Because we are spoiled. We're spoiled. We're rotten. We're made disgusting by what we are taught. All right, this is Colossians chapter 2, verse 8. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the traditions of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not of after Christ. See, we have to beware. See, we are spoiled through the philosophy, spoiled through Christianity, through their school systems, through their logic, through the way they think, through their victories and their vain deceits, right? They vain deceits after the traditions of men and the rudiments of the world. That's what you're following when you're celebrating 4th of July and you're lighting your firecrackers and you got on your red, white, and blue and you're waving your American flag. That is a vain deceit that is after the tradition of men and the rudiments of the world. That is not after Christ. Christ didn't tell you to go do that. The Most High didn't tell you to do that. He said he hates and despises your feast days because they're after the world. They are not after Christ. Okay? We'll get 1 Corinthians 10 and 20. All right, this is 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 20. But I say that the things with the Gentile sacrifice, they sacrifice to devils and not to God. I would not that ye should have fellowship with devils. Right? These things that they sacrificing, these things that's going on, that ain't to the Most High. Right? That ain't for the Most High. This is for the devils. This is for the victory of your enemy, of your oppressor, who you believe is one with you and a brother in Christ because of Christianity. That is why Christianity is so destructive for us. Because of Christianity, we go and we sacrifice with the Gentile sacrifice. And those are sacrificed to the devil, not to God. And we shouldn't have no fellowship with devils. We'll be at their damn barbecue, eating ribs and blowing up firecrackers, and having Roman candle wars and good night. Verse 21, you cannot drink the cup of the Lord and the cup of devils. You cannot be partakers at the Lord's table and the table of devils. You're going to have to make a choice. You're going to have to choose, do you want to serve God or do you want to drink beer, eat barbecue, and blow your hand off? These are the things that you have to make a conscious decision of. Because you can't be a partaker of the Lord drinking of his cup and be a partaker with these devils drinking of their cup. celebrating their victories. How you going to get your victory from the Lord when all you do is celebrate your oppressor's victories every damn 4th of July like an idiot? Verse 22. Do we provoke the Lord to jealousy? Are we stronger than he? That's what we have to do. We got to stop uh, um, trying to provoke the Most High. If we're going to provoke the Most High, let's follow these laws, statutes, and commandments and provoke the Most High to burn this place down and make us rise, to end Esau's world and let Jacob's rule with an everlasting foundation. Okay, I'm going to go to John 7:38. Actually, no, hold on. Let me get this set real quick. Let me get 2 Corinthians 6:15. Yeah, let me go there real quick. Second Corinthians 6:15. And what concord has Christ with Belial? Or what part has he had that believeth with an infidel? Verse 16. And what agreement had the temple of God with idols? For ye are the temple of the living God. As God has said, I will dwell in them, walk in them. I will be their God, and they shall be my people. How could he dwell in us? How could we be a living temple if we out here celebrating and the victory of our oppressors? How could God live in us if all we want is our enemy to live in us, to praise us, to say you did a good job, to say you one of the good ones, to say you're my good friend? God wants to be our God, and we should want to be his people. Verse 17. Wherefore come out from among them, and be ye separate, says the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you. That's how you get receiving. You got to put away all the unclean things. All these things that you grew up, being brainwashed to serve and reverence and love, and you can't wait for these days. Well, you need to learn about the Lord's feast days, about the Lord's high holy days. That's what you need to dwell in. Those are the things you need to touch. Quit touching these unclean things. You need to be separate. You need to come out from among them, not barrel yourself in deeper. Verse 18. And will be a father unto you, and ye shall be my sons and daughters, said the Lord Almighty. We have to come from among these other nations, the things they do, the things they love, or we're not going to be the sons and daughters of the Most High. It's telling you right here. It's telling you clear, cut, and dry that we have to come from among them. And if we don't come from among them, then we will partake in their sins, and we will suffer from the same plagues, the same diseases, the same fate as them. Okay? Let me get 11 and 6 real quick. 2 Corinthians 11 and 6. Because people always say, man, y'all too rough. Y'all out here and y'all saying these things, and it's rough. Y'all messing up my 4th of July. Y'all messing up my holiday. Y'all out here speaking loud and speaking rough and being rude. Well, 2 Corinthians 11 and 6 says, but though I be rude in speech, yet not in knowledge. But we have been thoroughly made manifest among you in all things. See, you might be rude in this speech, but not in this knowledge. And that's what we're giving you. We're giving you this knowledge because the Most High I said this is what is going to be happening. This is what has to happen, right? Let me get this. Jeremiah 3:15. It says, and I will, just Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 15. And I will give you pastors according to mine heart, which shall feed you with the knowledge and the understanding. That's what we're doing. We're giving you the knowledge and the understanding right here in the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge under the Commander General Yohana. We are giving you the knowledge and understanding of what you should do and shouldn't do according to the Bible, according to the records that was set forth by our forefathers, by the Most High, given to our forefathers to give to us. Okay? These pastors out here now, they're not of the Lord's own heart. They're of their own heart, their own mind, their own pocket. Right? We need to be fed with knowledge and understanding. So we understand that we shouldn't go out there and celebrate the victory of our oppressors, right? I'm going to get Galatians. What time is it? Yeah, I'll get it real quick. Oh, let me see. Yeah, I'll just get it. Galatians 4:8. This is Galatians chapter 4, verse 8. Howbeit then, when ye knew not God, ye did service unto them which by natures are no God. Right? Howbeit then, when ye knew not God, ye did services unto them which are no by nature are no gods. Okay? Verse 9. But now, after that ye have known God, or rather known of God, how ye turn again to the weak and beggarly elements, where until you desire to be in bondage. So it's saying when you didn't know God, you serve these people. Before you know the truth, you serve America. You celebrate your oppressors' victories. You eat pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster, celebrating every holiday on the earth. You're under their philosophies and their Christianities. But now, after you know God, or rather known of God, how do you turn back to this? How do you go celebrate 4th of July or your birthday or Christmas or Christianity or anything like that? Why would you go back to these beggarly elements whereunto ye desire to be to be in bondage? Because that's what it is. It's putting you back into a slavery. You're in mental slavery if you're celebrating the 4th of July. Verse 10. Ye observe days and months and times and years. You observing that day, that 4th of July, that fourth day in July, and them times, time and time again, and them years after years, celebrating the victory of your oppressor. Because you observe their days, their months, their times, and their years. Because you are so engulfed and so embedded in the construct of America that you don't know that you're a slave, that you don't know that you're not free. But you're going to celebrate freedom. It's not going to be your freedom that you celebrate, no. It's going to be your oppressors. And as you celebrate your oppressor's freedom, just remember you're celebrating his victory. And let's see if he will ever celebrate your victory. All right, I'm going to go to... No, I don't want that. Right here. We'll go to John 17. John 17 and 14. This is John chapter 17, verse 14. I have given them thy word, and the world has hated them, because they are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. You're hated when you go out there and tell somebody that, hey, brother, you don't need to be celebrating. Don't buy them pork ribs. Don't celebrate that 4th of July. Celebrate their Christianity. Don't be like the world. Christ isn't like the world. Christ given this word, and they hate it. They hate this word. They hate to be told these things. But we tell them, and we are hated because we're not of this world, right? That's how you have to be. You have to be not of this world. You have to come up out of this world, right? When we say come up out of America, we don't mean to leave. When we say come up out of the world, that don't mean you're moving to Mars, right? It means to come up out of the foundations and the construct, the social construct, and all these things that America gives us. Okay, we get First John. First John, chapter 2, verse 15. First John, chapter 2, verse 15. Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. If you love the world, you think, how does God love everybody? If he just says love not the world, right? Love not the world, love not every age or society, not love every people, right? Nor the things that are in the world. For man, you know what's in the world? 4th of July. 4th of July is of the world. It's of the rudiments and traditions of men and not of Christ, right? So if you love 4th of July, you love that world, then the love of the Father is not in you, because the Father hates and despises your feast days, hates and despises 4th of July, hates and despises when we celebrate our enemies' victories. We out here going through hell and high water all the time. Our Mexican brothers and sisters right now, everybody, our Jamaican brothers, everybody, they're getting deported. They're getting tricked into going to court, and they're getting them out of here. So how could you, in that sense, still go and shoot off firecrackers and eat barbecue and believe that you're one with America? And they have confused you to believing that their victories are your victories. So you selling America, celebrating 4th of July for independence, when their Independence Day has nothing to do with you, because you were a slave. Okay? All right, let me see. Let me jump up to verse 3. This is First John chapter 2, verse 3. And hereby we do know that we know him if we keep his commandments. You have to keep his commandments. Like I read earlier, it said that some days he hallowed them. He didn't make that an ordinary day. He made that a special day. He made that a day that you were supposed to reverence. Then some days he made ordinary. We got to keep the commandments and only follow his holy days. And we need to despise their feast days like the Most High does. Verse 4. He that says, I know him, and keepeth not his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. Christians don't believe you got to keep a damn thing, except what you feel. Every Christian makes God who they want God to be. And in every Christian mind, God loves pork ribs and 4th of July, and a shirt that says freedom and barbecue. But if you say you know him, but you ain't keeping his commandments, and you out there celebrating the victory of your enemy, then you are a liar, and the truth is not in you. Verse 5. But whoso keepeth his word, in him verily is the love of God perfected. Hereby know we that we are in him. Okay? The love of God is perfected by you doing what you were told, not by you going out and celebrating and getting as drunk as possible and driving down the road after you'd have lit off a million firecrackers. Okay? If you want the love of God perfected in you, you're going to have to keep his word. And if you don't keep his word, and you love your oppressor more than you love the Most High, and you want to go and celebrate your oppressor's victories, then this is it right here. This is why. Because you don't care about the Most High. All right, this is John 8:44. All right, ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. It says it right there. Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. That's why you will celebrate his holidays. You will celebrate his customs. You will celebrate his victories. You will celebrate his way of life. You will live like he lives. You will cut your beard off and you will put on a suit and tie and you'll look safe and you'll look like one of the good ones because you have the lust of your fathers. You're going for his fraternities. You want to join his fraternities. You want to be a part of him. You want to be a part of his family instead of a part of your own, right? This is what we do when we go out there and we celebrate our oppressors' victories with the 4th of July. Such a disgusting holiday, especially with the condition we were in when they were signing that Declaration of Independence. All right? It says he was a murderer from the beginning and abode not in the truth. Abode means to abide, to dwell. He doesn't dwell in no truth. Right? It says because there is no truth in him. He doesn't have the truth in him. He doesn't go and preach truth through the earth. Everything he does is conniving. It's through a lie. It's through a deception. He wants to pass a bill. He's going to write all these things out, and he's going to have the deception in there to make you believe that this is going to be such a great thing. The big, beautiful bill is supposed to be such a great thing until it's passed and it's not. And then you get the truth because you're trusting your father, who is the devil, and he's going to not speak with the truth. He's not going to dwell in the truth. He's not going to give you no truth. It said, when he speaketh a lie, right, he speaketh of his own. When he speaketh that lie, he speaketh of his own. When he's getting you to celebrate his victories, that's for his own. He's telling you, we're all Americans. We're all created equal under God. We're all brothers in Christ. We're all this, we're all that. When he's speaking that, he's speaking a lie because he doesn't believe that you're any of those things. But he wants you to celebrate and reverence his victories, because he wants the glory from the earth. He don't want to give no glory to God. He wants all the glory to himself. He wants you to glorify his victories so he could look like the power, right? It says, when he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. And that's why he is the devil. He's the biggest deceiver. He deceives us all the time. Because he the way he comes and manipulates the minds of our people and how we fall for the same rhetoric and the same lies and the same unjust things time after time after time. That's why we are destroyed, because we look at our oppressor as a father, and that's because all your life, growing up in Christianity, you were shown that God was white and Jesus was white and the little naked baby angels was white and all the people of the Bible was white. So you're looking at the white man as a father. Well, right here in John 8:44, it's telling you that oppressor is a devil. That's what he is. He's a devil. He's cunning and he's conniving. And he is the most subtle beast of the field. And how do we know it? Because still to this day, his subtlety is tricking blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians to believe they're free as they watching their brothers get hauled out of America. You watching your brothers and sisters get hauled out of America and you still believe that you're free. You still believe this is a Christian nation and you still believe in the freedoms of America when every day they show you that it does not exist. When are we going to learn? When are we going to wake up? When are we going to open our eyes? When are we going to listen to the Most High and listen to the prophets that are sent before us today so we can understand exactly how we should move? So we can understand that we shouldn't be a part of these customs, that we shouldn't celebrate the victories of our oppressors. When are we going to be tired of lying down and just wanting to be like a tumbleweed in the wind? Wherever they say to go, we blow, just like a tumbleweed in the wind. If they blow us that way, we just blow. Okay, now we celebrating and we worship this. Or now this is cool. That's what they tell you. Be progressive. They want you to be progressive. Everybody got their pronouns and all of this nonsense alternative lifestyle and no shaming. I don't know if I could say it. No shaming women. Let's put that. You can't shame a sexy red or a amber rose. So there's no shaming. You see? And now we are lost and destroyed because everybody wants to be progressive. The Bible is not progressive. No. It doesn't change with the times. It doesn't grow. It doesn't add in. It doesn't accept this later. Well, that's like the priest and prophet. We're not progressive. We right here. We still in this. We still in these records. These records that are perfect and that will help us get through anything. We just need to follow what our records say. Let me get Colossians 2:21. And then I'm going to get some of this other article, a little bit of it. And we'll close it out. This is Colossians 2:21. Touch not, taste not, handle not. Verse 22. Which all are to perish with the using, after the commandments and doctrines of men. So we perish when we are reverencing our oppressor, because we want to touch, taste, and hold on to everything that he loves, to all of his victories, to all of his triumphs. We want to hold on to it and love it. When it says right here, touch not, taste not, handle not, because which all are to perish with the using, after the commandments and doctrines of men. That's why we are destroyed because of Christianity. We are destroyed because of celebrating the holidays. We celebrate 4th of July and you was on the bottom of a boat, right? Packed like sardines in a can. And you go out there and you celebrate their victory every year. Then it took all your fight. You didn't perish, because after the using of this takes the fight away. Because you and Billy going to eat them pork ribs. Y'all going to blow up the whole damn neighborhood. Blow up the whole neighborhood. And you're gonna swear that this is your good buddy. And we perish with the using of these things. Because this is after the commandments and doctrines of men. This is not of the Most High. These are things, stumbling blocks that destroy us. And we go out and we get destroyed more and more every year, every month. Every month. All right. Yeah, let me get some of this article real quick. Stop sharing my screen. All right, which one do I want? This. All right. Also, during slavery, this is what's so horrible about you going out and you celebrating and reverencing their holidays. In slavery, they like to show you a lot of things, but they don't want to be really showing you like how the breeding worked. Okay? Let's show you some of that. It says the master wished to reproduce. Slavery forced intimacy and enslavers' interference in sexual relationships in the antebellum South in 1808 to 1861. All right. In 1937, uh, Louisa Everett recalled a traumatic start to her marriage with her husband, Sam Everett. Their enslaver, Jim McCain, used violence as a tool of coercion to force over 100 enslaved people on his Virginia plantation to mate indiscriminately without any regard uh, for family unions. McLean paid close attention to who he predicted might produce strong, healthy offspring, and forced these individuals to consummate their relationship in his presence. One even, McLean summoned Sam and Louisa before him and ordered Sam to undress and asked Louisa, "Do you think you could stand this big man?" See, this is what we had to go through. When you're popping your firecrackers and you're barbecuing, think about this. When you're with all your heathen buddies, right? Remember this: they had to consummate their relationship in front of them, and he's asking this young girl, "Do you think you could stand this big man?" While holding that old bullwhip across his shoulders, reminding them that he could hit so hard. Fearful of McLean's violent retribution, Louisa answered in the affirmative and tried to hide her face to spare Sam's modesty. McLean then told them that they must get busy and to do it in his presence. After which they were considered man and wife because Louisa and Sam were a healthy pair who went on to have fine big babies. McLean never had another man forced on Louisa. The couple had fulfilled their purpose and perpetuated the mechan- the match the machination of slavery provided McLean with exploitable and confidable bodies for labor and sale. Contemporaries called this slave breeding. This is what they was doing to us. They were breeding us, right? Across the South, enslavers trafficked in the flesh of the enslaved people they deemed particularly fertile. In distinctly pro-nationalist action, they forced and cajoled and coerced enslaved men and women into reproducing the workforce and form exploitable children that they can extract labor from for sales, for profit, or a combination of the two. As one formerly enslaved person described, they were crazy about slaves who had lots of children. William Dinsburg used the term regiment to define enslavers' regulations of the everyday lives of enslaved people. This included the strict control of labor, the type of work when to start and stop, leisure times, and crucially marriages. Okay, so they're telling them when to do this. You know what I mean? Y'all gonna do it right now. Y'all gonna stop right here. And this is crazy because you know that once the girl was able to get on her flower, then she could have children, right? That's what they were waiting. So they're taking little girls, and you know there's not little boys. They're bringing men who are already defined, who they already know are big and making good slaves, and then they're gonna do this. They're gonna make them run up in them right in front of them so they can produce these children, so they could have their slaves, so they could have their pups, is what they called them, right? Let me see. Enslavers determined when and whom enslaved person could marry, as well as what characteristics determined an appropriate intimate partner. The article builds up Duesenberg's theory of regiment by exploring reproductive regiments, the interference of the lives of enslaved people, which explicit aim in reproducing the population and maximum profit. While this includes the regulation of regiments of areas as distributed food and medicine, exercise, familiar relationships, the article will explore the regulation of enslaved people, intimate sexual lives, and argue that the term reproductive regiment encapsulates the pro-nationalist and pro-eugenics action of ideology of enslavers in the antebellum South, as they aim to increase their workforce to rear or cultivate the best stock. All right? Excuse me. Slovakia. All right, using primarily black authored evidence from the Works Progress Administrative WPA, Slave Narrative Project's interviews with formerly enslaved people published slave narratives and slaveholder documents from across the antebellum South. This article examines how slave owners interfered with enslaved couples' intimate lives and forced them to reproduce the institution of slavery by examining issues, permissions, and consents, arranged marriages, hiring out, and out gender experience of the methods. We look especially at the period of 1808 to 1861, beginning after the ban of the international trade of enslaved people, as it became even more important to cultivate and encourage this increase of the enslaved population, as they could no longer import forcibly traffic people from communities in West and Central Africa. Indeed, Diane Ramley Berry makes a distinction in the language of breeding before and after 1808. Before 1808, breeding or breeders referred to as women who were pregnant. After 1808, these words were referred to reproduction of children for profit. Hold on 1 second. All right. Historically, forced reproduction has been a continuous topic, which Gregory D. Smithers accurately refers to as the elephant in the room that historians find challenging to define. 20th century scholars such as Robert Fogel, Stanley Ignorant, and John Bowles dismiss forced reproduction and abolitionist throat, where anti-slavery advocates spoke about rumors of breeding farms dedicated to systematic sexual exploitation of enslaved people. There is little evidence of such farms. However, the article defines forced reproduction more holistically. Yeah, that's what they want to do. They want to make you believe it's holistically, but they had them in the farm like a animal, like put you in a barn in a stall like a mayor, right? That's what they did. These breeding farms were exactly that, but they want to hide that. That's why they said there's little evidence, right, of such farms. However, the article defines forced reproduction being more holistically, arguing that enslavers primarily unsystematically matched individuals using a range of methods across the spectrums of violence to control them into sexual relationships. Thomas Foster argues that not all enslavers forced enslaved people to reproduce, but they all expected them to and often allowed enslaved people to choose their own relationship. However, the term allow indicates control and timely rest with the enslaver, who could revoke this allowance on the whim. The pro-national slaveholders governed their slave holding by actively prioritizing the importance of fertility and the rearing of strong people to meet their pecuniary demands by encouraging those that are deemed of equal size and value to reproduce with one another and discouraging those that were not. Enslavers emphasized both the alleged quality and quantity of their enslaved property. So they wanted the best. They wanted the best of you, right? Enslavers implemented this type of pro-eugenics practice before Francis Galton coined the term in 1883. Pro-nationalist ideology and activity were present in the South, despite the absent and developed literature on the social Darwinism or eugenics. Paul Lombardo argues that the definition of eugenics is fluid and has a variety of different meanings and methods of implementation. He defines eugenics practices as the encouragement of the most prosperous, successful to reproduce, while preventing the deviant, the disabled, the diseased, or the criminal from reproducing. This was an effort to prevent inferior races from reproducing. However, enslavers actively encouraged those who were deemed the inferior race to reproduce with the confines of slavery. Outside of slavery, free blacks had no use to their enslavers and thus no reason in their option to reproduce. The eugenics language particularly stands out in the language formerly enslaved people. For example, Charlotte Martin recalled that in Florida, her enslaver Wilkinson found that it was very profitable to raise and sell slaves. And selected Salakia. And selected the strongest, best male and female slaves and mated them exclusively for breeding. So they take the best and they're exclusively for breeding. It says, according to the unnamed WPA respondent, enslavers in Kentucky allowed the strong, healthy slave women to have children and often prevented them from mating with their own husbands. Instead, their enslavers bred them like stock to someone else. So they would take somebody who was already married and take them from their husband and go give them to somebody who they feel is bigger and better and stronger, right? So it says it says strong, healthy slave women to have children often and prevented them from mating with their husbands. Instead, their enslavers bred them like livestock to some males who was kept for that purpose because of his strong physique. They respond and compare the selection process to the livestock, stating on how it was just like horses, cattle, dogs, and other animals are maimed today in order to improve the stock. On this plantation, the enslaver carefully selected specific individuals and encouraged them to reproduce due to their possession of what they deemed valuable characteristics. Though Foster argues that enslavers' selections of particular men for reproduction was created a hierarchy and isolated them from their communities. In this language, it was indicative of a hierarchy created by an enslaver, not the enslaved communities themselves. Though enslavers saw some enslaved people inherently reproductively better than others, but this does not necessarily mean that the enslaved themselves felt this way, as they were aware that their enslavers desired to regiment their intimate lives. All right, it was in this language where theories of pro-nationalism, slavery, and capitalism intertwined. In the last decade, such historians as Seven Beckett and Seth Rockman have argued that historians have only just begun to link more general histories of slavery and capitalism together, observing that we should know that slavery is tied to the U.S. economy, but we don't know how. But we don't yet know how. Walter Johnson stated that enslavers' commodifications of labor and commodifications of labors are two concretely intertwined ideologies and semibiotic elements of a larger unified, though the internally diverse structure of exploitation. Slavery cannot exist without capitalism, and it is a clear way that the enslaver regiment enslaved people's lives, exploit most of the labor, sexually and physically. Out of them, as Kathleen Rosenhall defines, prime field hand, and the enslaved man or woman whose productivity was among the maximum that could be expected from a single individual. All right. We can also apply this to enslavers' maximum extraction to enslave people's sexual productivity. Amy Drew Stanley, who has examined slave breeding and free love by exploring evidence from pro and anti-slavery advocates in Congress, concludes the force of reproduction created a link between human bondage and capitalist revolution. But there is still little work explicitly tying forced reproduction, pro-national, pro eugenics, ideology, and history capitalism together from the point of the view of the enslaved. She further states, by no means it is clear transpired between master and slave to produce and increase slaves. But this article shows if we turn to Black author testimony, it is clear it was transpired. I'm going to end that one on that. So as they try to say, while you out there celebrating your oppressors' victories, just remember these things that happen to so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. And with that, we're the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge. Start out on the 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under the Commander General Yohana. Shalom.